I'm sure that gave us a lot of food for thought, at least for those of us who are planning to be entrepreneurs at some stage of our lives. We've now kicked off the AISC on a light note. Let's move on with the next session. And our speaker is going to be Mr. T.S. Rangarajan, who is a principal consultant currently working as an enterprise risk officer for Tata Consultancy Services. As you all know, he's also the chairman of the IEEE Madras section and has been an active IEEE member for the past 24 years. He's a certified management consultant, a fellow of the Institute of Management Consultants of India, an elected executive council member of IMCI, and a regular examiner for CMC. Ranga has been with TCS Limited for the past 24 years. He's handled several assignments such as Enterprise Architect for Next Generation Systems, Practice Head for RFID Solutions, and so on. Let's ask him to answer the question, why IEEE? Why IEEE?
Okay. Thank you for this nice introduction. Before I talk about the subject, I promised Vijay that I will give some add-ons to what he had said so far. I'm just back from attending the CII Connect, where a similar discussion took place on startups. And there were some interesting facts shared in addition to whatever very nice things that you said. The first point was they said that in 2000, the year 2000, the cost of putting up a startup in America was about $1 million. In 2012, it has come down to $100,000. So the cost of putting up a startup has come down by almost 1/10. The second thing they said was that today if you start a startup and you lose, okay, no big deal. It's not so expensive at all. So the risk on startups, has come down dramatically. So all the more reason that people should, look at startups. Another very interesting thing, this 23-year-old, so there is this 23-year-old boy in Mumbai who has created an application to unfollow in Facebook. Okay. He charges $20 per subscriber, and he has 110,000 subscribers. Okay. So people are asking, even his PL cannot get that kind of money in a major MNC. Okay? So like you said rightly, it is not necessary for the startups to be Facebooks and Twitters and LinkedIns, but they could be small companies, even quite unknown. Okay? The other day when auto metering was introduced in Chennai, people said, we need an app, Android app for that. Okay? And within half an hour, the Android app was up, okay, for looking into the autometer thing. So what Vijay kicked off today was extremely relevant. Although, TCS would like to recruit many people, but I would advise you strongly to look at startup as a place to start with, because this 23-year-old is making more than what I make. Now coming to the topic given to me on vision of IEEE, I will again use many things from what I have seen in many places. So, of course, all of you know advancing technology for humanity. What you probably don't know, and I want to say here, which I'm saying in many fora that I go, is IEEE is your professional home. Okay? All of us, have a personal home which is very consistent in our lives. But when you come to your profession, you are moving from one institute to another, one job to another, and if you move from one job to another, you lose all the contacts that you made with people. You can no longer work with them. Okay? But if you have a professional network on IEEE, it can help you to keep those contacts alive and maybe start a startup someday with those people. Okay? Which is what was a key message, which is like, what you invest in your life is the relationships that you build, particularly the professional relationships that you build right from your college. Many of the startups that people are seeing are those which are close friends who know each other's strengths. Okay, even if you look at the volunteers who worked on this Congress, they know each other's strengths. They know Arun Noel Victor does a very good job of graphics. Okay? This is a graphic from him. This graphic was copied by Pakistan, IEEE Pakistan. Okay? So they know each other's strengths. Somebody is very good at finance, another guy is very good at organization, and so on. So once you know people working, you can really build those relationships, and that is one of the biggest strengths that IEEE brings. Another thing I want to talk about is the multidisciplinary nature of work that is required of engineers. Last year, the Ocean Engineering Society under India Council, the director from National Institute of Ocean Technology, Dr. Atmanand, they do a project competition, a student project competition, to design a remotely controlled underwater autonomous vehicle. Those prototypes are tested in the Velachery swimming pool. Okay? For 2 continuous years, IIT Kharagpur was winning the competition, and those students were being sponsored by NIOT and Ocean Engineering Society to San Diego for the finals. Last year, the team that won that competition was a relatively unknown college called Panimalar Engineering College. Okay? And I was very curious to find out what exactly was their strength. And I found that the team comprised of a civil engineer, a mechanical engineer, an electronics engineer, a software guy, a really multidisciplinary team, which put their heads together to design a totally new looking prototype that these people had not seen, which was working perfectly fine, and therefore they won it. Okay. So that is another very important trait of a multidisciplinary team. Closer home in Coimbatore, okay, 2 years ago when we had this severe power cut, okay, people bought inverters. Okay, and then they realized this power cut was really severe. It was there for 16 hours a day. Okay. You didn't have enough grid power to charge the inverters. Okay. And then people came up with a brilliant idea. They put a solar panel along with the inverter, and you now have the inverter charged during the day to be used in the night. And that's improvisation. This is an improvisation that will not happen in the US because there is no power cut there. So these are the types of examples which make us all feel that there are lots of problems for us to solve. Let me take you to a totally different area. I was doing a project a few years ago on rural energy, and I came across this UNDP report, which was appalling. It said, according to a survey of UNDP, 90% of women in developing countries spend 90% of their time only on 2 activities: fetching firewood and fetching water. This is a fact. Okay? If you have these types of problems, we are really having a lot of opportunities to resolve. How much IEEE means to each one of us will be indicated in the next 2 examples that I want to give you. In 2006, Madras section was celebrating its 25th anniversary, Silver Jubilee. While celebrating that, we invited the president of IEEE, Dr. Cleon Anderson, and we were giving away mementos to members who had completed 25 years with IEEE. And there was this professor from IIT, I don't want to name him. When he was being given the memento and asked to speak, he could not speak. He broke down. He said, I became a member of IEEE in 1964. IEEE itself was formed in 1963 after merging AI, the earlier version, and the IRE. Okay? And all my life teaching, there was no internet. Okay? We were totally dependent on the transactions and journals of IEEE which used to come to us by post. We were totally dependent on the 350 odd conferences that we were tracking. And that was the fountainhead for me to learn to teach the students. Okay? So he felt that his entire career he was grateful to IEEE for helping him out to be an outstanding teacher in an outstanding college. So if you really want to keep things ahead, IEEE is the place to go. That's one of the major examples I wanted to quote to you to say how important IEEE is. Look at me, okay? You will be surprised that I'm a mechanical engineer. You'll be surprised that I started on a shop floor. Okay? You'll be surprised that I headed the radio frequency identification team of TCS. I have really moved. Okay? And the reason that, the one thing that helped me to do that was the January issue of Spectrum for the past 25 years. Okay? The January issue of Spectrum actually tells you what IEEE thinks are technologies which will survive and which one will fail. Not that I became a startup person with that, which I should have, but in those days it was much more expensive to start a startup. But today, if you see, that is a fairly good indicator. Of course, today we have so much of information overload that there is a book which has come out by Walter Hare of IBM Research, which says, the ominous rise of knowledge. People are becoming scared. They don't know how, there is no control. Okay? There's so much of information that is being generated. It is impossible for people to understand or even manage with those things. So that's a different issue. Now coming to what I thought IEEE is doing, is it's done a great service with the 802.11n standard that they have created. And guess what? Mobiles are becoming the devices of the future. Okay? And even more surprising is the whole world thinks that India is going to lead the requirements for mobiles. Because the penetration rate of mobiles in India is the highest. It is about 65%. And people are talking about new types of requirements with mobiles. I know people who, like Bill Gates said long ago, who will need more memory than 64K? Okay? This is an old statement attributed to Bill Gates. There are people who thought, what is mobile? Who will use mobiles? And within the past 20 years, we have seen so much of change happening on mobiles. So the companies like Google are predicting that India is going to drive the entire mobile revolution because they have leapfrogged mainframes, they have leapfrogged desktops, and they're directly landing onto mobiles. And like he said, the example is, how do I do offline search using a mobile? Okay. And just to give you some figures, in 2002, we had 2 million internet users. In 2008, we have 30 million internet users. In 2012, we had 150 million internet users, and we're adding 3 to 4 million users every month since then. Between feature phone and smartphone, in 2008 we had less than 5 million phones. In 2011 we had 18 to 20 million phones. In 2013 we have 70 million phones. And we are growing at the rate of 280% increase in smartphones. This is the size of the market, and the cost of startups have come down. The ease with which people can put an Android app, I just now told you, the opportunity is enormous. Another thing is, do you know that who is the biggest retailer in India today? Flipkart. Flipkart is the biggest retailer just in 4 years' time. The whole scenario is changing, and you guys are really well placed to handle this shifting scenario. Another question. There is a combination of modern technology that we use called SMAC. Okay? Actually, I would call it SCAM, but they call it SMAC. Social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. And what people say, why are these things being clubbed? Social, mobile, and analytics are apps, but cloud is infrastructure. It's because social, mobile, and analytics require rapid increase in infrastructure, which only cloud can give. It can give you from 50 servers to 5,000 servers in no time. Okay. So that is how the speed, like you said, faster and better, those Olympic goals, that is what this generation is all about. And everybody here, if you go to the hackathons in the US, the hackathons are happening all days. Okay, Yahoo is running a hackathon, Google is running a hackathon, Facebook is running a hackathon, everybody is running a hackathon. Even if you want to bid for a job, there is a hackathon. Okay? You bring all the bidders, ask them to show what they can do. And like you said, just show and tell. Don't give me a proposal which I don't have time to read. Okay? Develop the app, show me some demo, give me a striptease, and then we'll go forward. And the last point I want to tell you about, there was this discussion in CII Connect, which I found very funny, between the IT secretaries and others. They said the government of Tamil Nadu has given laptops to all the students. And then one student got up and he said, "Yes, sir, thank you, sir. You've given laptops to all the students, but you have not given it to the teachers. They are the people who are going to teach us. We don't know how to put on the switch, on switch. So if you give laptops to students, why don't you give it to the teachers first?" So there are lots of such issues that we already have within the government, but those things are probably going to change. And then people are saying that we are having plans to reach internet to all the villages, all the towns, and you're putting 25,000 crores for fiber links, etc. And then I remembered that in one ACM conference, the father of internet, Windsurf, he said there's an Australian company called O3B, the other 3 billion, okay? And he's going to provide internet through satellite, just like you have Dish TV, okay? They are actually going to cover the latitudes and longitudes of all the countries below equator and others. They will be getting internet directly through their dishes, okay? And that's a feasible solution. Why is the government of India laying all these cables then? So I asked him this question, and he said, yeah, I was told about it, but we were not convinced about the technology. It's already functional. I want to stop with this just to give you a brief glimpse that, IEEE, than either